There is a moment every leader knows. You are sitting in a meeting and a decision is about to be made. Something about it feels off, not illegal, not dramatic, not obviously wrong, just wrong enough that you feel it in your stomach. Maybe someone will be treated unfairly. Maybe the people affected were not consulted. Maybe the decision is technically defensible but morally lazy. Maybe the process is clean, but the outcome still feels wrong. You consider saying something. Then someone says, legal already cleared it, or HR signed off, or that's what the committee recommended, or increasingly, the model says this is the best option, and you feel relief. Not the relief of knowing the right thing has been done, the relief of no longer having to decide. That relief has a name: moral outsourcing. Moral outsourcing is what happens when you let another person, process, institution, or machine replace your moral judgment instead of informing it. That distinction matters. Good leaders listen to experts, they respect process, they seek advice, they use tools, they ask for help, but they do not hide inside those things. They understand that input is not the same as responsibility. The experiment that still haunts us: in 1961, in a basement at Yale, an ordinary man sat in front of a panel of switches. He had answered a newspaper ad for a paid memory experiment. A man in a white lab coat told him his role was simple. He was the teacher. Another person in the next room was the learner. They couldn't see each other. Every time the learner got an answer wrong, the teacher was told to deliver an electric shock. The shocks increased each time. At first the learner protested, then he cried out, then he asked to be released. Eventually, he went silent. Each time the teacher hesitated, the man in the lab coat gave him a short instruction: please continue. The experiment requires that you continue. And when the teacher asked who would be responsible if the learner was harmed, the experimenter said, I am responsible. The shocks were fake. The teacher did not know that. The exact interpretation of Stanley Milgram's obedience experiments is still debated, but the uncomfortable pattern remains. Under the right conditions, many ordinary people will keep doing harm when an authority figure normalizes it, directs it, and absorbs responsibility for it. The lesson is not that people are naturally cruel. The lesson is that authority can make moral surrender feel reasonable. I was just doing my job. That same mechanism appeared in history in its most horrifying form. In 1961, Adolf Eichmann stood trial in Jerusalem for his role in organizing the Nazi deportation of millions of Jews to death camps. His defense was haunting because of how ordinary it sounded. He did not present himself as a sadist. He presented himself as a functionary. He was, in his own words, just doing his job. That does not make him innocent. It makes the lesson more disturbing, because moral collapse does not always feel like hatred. Sometimes it feels like procedure. Sometimes it sounds like professionalism. Sometimes it wears the language of duty, efficiency, and obedience. Of course, most of our daily decisions are not remotely comparable to the horrors of history, but the moral habit is recognizable. I was just following the process. That decision was above my pay grade. The system made the recommendation. Everyone else agreed. That's just how things work here. These are the everyday signatures of moral outsourcing. How to know when you are doing it? Moral outsourcing is hard to notice because it often feels responsible. It can sound mature, cautious, and professional. It can feel like you are being a team player. But there are warning signs. You feel relief too quickly, not clarity. Relief, the kind that says, good, someone else owns this now. Sometimes that means you wisely sought help, but sometimes it means you handed away responsibility because carrying it felt uncomfortable. You hide behind clean language. Organizations are very good at making moral questions sound technical. A person becomes a case. A firing becomes a restructuring. A harmful decision becomes policy alignment. Clean language can help us think clearly, but it can also help us avoid feeling anything. You stop asking who gets hurt. Moral judgment weakens when the people affected become abstract: a user, voter, employee, customer, segment, or risk category. One way to reclaim your judgment is to make the affected person real again. Who will carry the cost of this decision? What would I say if they were sitting in the room? Moral judgment is a muscle. The danger is not only the decision you outsource today. The danger is what repeated outsourcing does to you over time. Moral judgment is a muscle. It grows under resistance, not when the answer is obvious, not when everyone agrees, and not when the algorithm gives you a confident response. It grows in the uncomfortable space where you have to ask, what do I actually believe is right? What am I willing to risk for it? Who might be harmed if I stay quiet? The conversations you are avoiding are not distractions from your development. They are the development. Every time you name a concern, ask a harder question, slow down a rushed decision, or refuse to let the room move past the human cost, you strengthen the muscle. Every time you say, that's not my call, when some part of you knows it is, the muscle weakens. The trap is that the price does not come due immediately. Year 1, you do not notice. Year 3, you have gotten very good at saying, that's above my pay grade, or those decisions get made elsewhere. Year 5, the knot in your stomach is gone. The relief comes faster than the discomfort ever did. Then comes the moment you cannot outsource. A personal decision, a family call, a leadership test where there is no committee, no boss, no policy, and no algorithm to hide behind. Just you, the stakes, and a clock, and you discover whether the muscle is still there. Action. Item. Find one impactful decision you have been quietly handing to someone else. A boss, a committee, a policy, a process, a model, or a room full of people who also do not want to be responsible. Take 10 minutes and answer 4 questions. What do I actually believe is right here? Not what is safest, not what is easiest, what is right? Who could be harmed if I stay passive? Name the person or group as concretely as possible. What am I afraid would happen if I said what I think? Loss of approval, conflict, reputation, extra work, being wrong? What is one small, non-heroic step I can take? Ask a question. Name a concern. Request more time. Talk to someone affected. This is not an argument for ignoring expertise, process, law, leadership, or AI. It is an argument against hiding inside them. Mature leaders take input seriously, but they do not confuse input with responsibility. The next decade will make moral outsourcing easier than ever. Rising uncertainty will pose more moral dilemmas than ever. AI will offer fast answers. Institutions will offer clean processes. Groups will offer a comfortable consensus. Authority figures will offer direction. All of them will make it easier to say, this was not really my call. But leadership begins when you stop disappearing into the system. Your moral judgment only stays alive if you use it. And before you leave, share with me, reply, what is the toughest moral decision you are dealing with now? Nicola.